Welcome to News Stripped Down, where I dig through the news and weed out all the nonsense so you guys don't have to. 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that's probably just BS, anyways. Today is July 14th, 2026. It is Tuesday. Ooh, it was 26 degrees out. That's 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit to you guys down in the States. But I think it's a little warmer than that now. Sun came out. We had a little bit of a drizzle. Felt good, that little bit of nice cool air. And now we're back into some skunkiness, so we'll see what happens here throughout the day. So yeah, let's get into some birthdays today. Today in 1868, archaeologist and writer Gertrude Bell. She played a major role in what we know of the state of Iraq and how that happened. And then she ended up ODing in 1926 at the age of 57 on sleeping pills, which is kind of funny. Her having this kind of significant role and starting to, you know, make a name for herself and just happens to unalive herself on sleeping pills. Weird. And then today in 1910, William Hanna, famous animator, famously known for his 1940s cartoons of Tom and Jerry. It was a two-man group though. He passed at the age of 90 in 2001. And today in 1913, Gerald Ford, he was the 38th President of the United States. He passed in 2006 at the age of 93. 1926, Harry Stanton. Harry Stanton. He was 91 when he passed in 2017. Harry Stanton, he was like the old guy in The Green Mile. He was the old convict guy in there. Yeah, he's in a lot of older movies and stuff, but guys would probably remember him best from that. I don't think you guys would be watching 1950s and 60s films. And then you probably wouldn't recognize him anyways. And then today in 1960, Jane Lynch is 66. Jane Lynch, that really tall, lanky, weird looking lady from Glee. Uh, the weirdo one, the carpet muncher kind of looking one there. And today in 1985, Phoebe Waller Bridge, she is 41 years old today. She's known for the show Killing Eve that ran from 2018 to 2022. Today in 1987, Dan Reynolds is 39, famous singer, songwriter from Imagine Dragons. And today, 1988, age 38, Conor McGregor it's his birthday today, but he's probably in the hospital, and I'd say like, yeah, what a loser. But Conor McGregor in that fight there made $28.5 million in that. I don't know how long did that fight last. 1 minute 9 seconds. Well, it really ended at the beginning of the fight, like him coming out with that stupid karate kick. But he still made $28.5 million. So yeah, that's it for birthdays today. I still need that page though. So yeah, let's get into the news today. Welcome to News Strip Down. 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer than that's just BS. Today is July 14th, 2026. It is Tuesday, you guys. The beginning of the week for anyone who it matters. It's 26 degrees. That's 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit to you guys down in the States. And like I said, it's probably a lot hotter than that now. I think the temperature bumped up to around 30, 32, which is around, what, 86? Actually, I think we're getting closer to 90s. Getting closer to 90 Fahrenheit there. Sorry, I don't have my chart in front of me for Fahrenheit to Celsius. So yeah, normally I don't talk about stuff like this, but I'm just gonna talk, like, sorry, right off the hop. Yeah, Trump, what's going on over here with the Strait of Hormuz here now? Trump's gonna start charging a 20% safe passage fee. I know these are just sound bites and stuff he had said through X, but like really you're gonna sit there and start charging any ship 20%, and 20% of what? What, 20% of the shipment, 20% of what your ship's worth, like what's what 20%? So I don't know, bunch of BS coming out of the United States right off the hop there. And let's get into some Canadian news. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, wow, I really don't like that juice or beverage, sorry. So some Canadian news here. Over to Alberta. Alberta lawyer Jeffrey Rath has had an interim freeze on about $8.5 million in assets belonging to him and his firm over a dispute of trust money from some First Nations treaty settlements that they had done work for. And a judge has found that the firm had charged excessive fees and ordered to refund to the First Nations trust. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. $8.5 million. Yeah. I'd like to see the breakdown of that a little bit more and see like where they did overcharge them. But like really, some of these firms, they see a cash cow there. Why not charge them more? You know, but just because they're First Nations, that's probably what this really came down to is, hey, you're gonna overcharge us, what, because we're First Nations? And really at the end of the day, like, it's kind of the government's money too. So, the government should have been going after this firm in the first place. It shouldn't have been the First Nations. And some a little bit of New York news, a little bit of Canadian news here. So, Tom Clark, Canada's Consul General in New York City, is still facing allegations that he pushed that purchase of a $9 million property in Manhattan, New York. He has now been replaced with former oil giant Shell executive Susanna Pierce. Susanna, yeah, she has quite the extensive experience negotiating regulatory environments and stuff. So yeah, she's good at working her way around. Hey, how can we slip this? Like, there's a lot of environmental laws out there and stuff like that. She seems this is like her bread and butter here is trying to weasel her way to get pipelines and other things done, weaseling around environmental regulatory systems. And then plus with the large group of various stakeholders that she has connections with, this could be a good spot for her. And you know what? Good to see Mark Carney, kind of cleaning up house a little bit. And Tom Clark, he was brought in by Trudeau there, so he's had his due time in politics here. And now he can go sit there and go do his own thing and get out of politics, but he'll still be in some form or another. And then Tom Clark, he was also a broadcaster there for a while. That's how he got that position. So he really had no real former like political background by any means. He was just a face in the news. He was just a talking head. And more Canada news. I'm sorry, you guys. So Canada Post is in the news again. Yeah, yeah. So the higher ups gave themselves a $30 million in performance bonuses. It's closer to $31 million in performance bonuses in 2025, after showing a $1.6 billion loss. Oh, isn't that just the way it goes? Look at these higher ups, and then just after the strike that Canada Post had last year there, and then after showing a $1.6 billion loss, anyone want to hear what Canada's Post excuse to this is? It's like, oh, hold on a second. Post is saying part of this is It was an at-risk performance program that includes a large group of employees, and it was funded through their own revenues. Revenues. Did I not just say that there is a $1.6 billion loss? That would be a loss. That's not a revenue. So where'd you get that $30 million? Oh, yeah, you got it from the federal government and the taxpayers. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Canada Post. Yeah, just really helping out your employees, eh? And then all the higher ups, yeah, sitting there getting a pat on the back. Good job for handling that strike so well. You know what? You deserve a couple extra $1 million for all that stress and pain and suffering of having to deal with that horrible, horrible strike that we had to go through. Oh, yeah, and just wait. We're you're gonna. This isn't the end of Canada Post. I almost guarantee it. There's gonna be more headline news about Canada Post coming up here. There we go. Now we're getting into some international news here. So the Russian Soyuz MS-29 launched from Kazakhstan today, headed to the International Space Station. Yeah. So guess who was on this Russian rocket going to the International Space Station? One American and two Russian cosmonauts. Like, am I the only person asking my question? Like, with all the sanctions and stuff that's happening with Russia, and well, even now, they like this is all falling apart. All these sanctions against Russian oil, this is all falling apart. But still, from day one, w- there's been a cooperation between Russia and the space program. And how has there never been really any interference, or has anyone even spoke up? It's like, how is this possible? Why is nobody speaking up? Hey, we have all these sanctions against these Russian oligarchs and Russian oil, and but yet we're still working hand in hand with the space program, and now we're using their rockets to go to space again. Like, and then think about that technology. Those Soyuz rockets, I should have looked up to see how old these things are, but this is old technology. And then what's going on here? Anyone, can somebody please explain this to me? Yeah, Russian astronauts going to the International Space Station. Yeah, I know it's international, but you think with all the sanctions and stuff that something would have been spoken about that. But nope, nope. Oh, oh, and over to British Columbia, Canada. This is some pretty interesting news. So, First Nations, five BC First Nations communities have opportunities to invest $1 billion into Canada's LNG export facility in Kitimat, British Columbia. And this is going to be a part of their stage two expansion program. So, this is going to be for holding facilities. So, product will be stored there before it's put into the big tanker ships and then out to market. So yeah, these five BC First Nations, they have the opportunity, and by the looks of it, it's going to be capped at $1 billion. I was trying to figure out like, is it a minimum or is it a maximum? But like my understanding of reading this is a $1 billion maximum that they can invest into this, and this is going to be part of equity and ownership. So there's going to be permanent revenue for these five First Nations to have permanent equity and money flowing coming into them. So this is good. This is good. There's a lot of stuff happening here in Manitoba too right now when it's talking about pipeline, but nothing really set in stone right now. It's still just a lot of talk. But with some of the deals that are being made out, First Nations might start making it on top here now, having some, but as long as the money gets divvied up properly, that's the only issue I'm having. Like, I know, I have a few people I know right now that are still dealing, trying to get their money from the chiefs from previous settlements, and they still have yet to receive this money from the band, because the money didn't go specifically to the people, it went to the band first, and then the band supposed to divvy it up to the people who filed the lawsuits. But then there's a lot of talk though, because there's other band members who didn't file for this lawsuit, and now they want their money, but they were never a part of the lawsuit in the first place, and they didn't think they were going to win. They ended up winning, blah blah blah, and everybody wants a piece of the pie now. But yeah, it's all on how the money gets divvied up and if it gets divvied up properly. But there are elections coming up here with First Nations here in Manitoba, so we'll see what happens. Because, yeah, if some of these people who filed some of these lawsuits aren't going to receive their money, then these chiefs' positions are going to be at risk right now. And could be a possibility for some new faces as chiefs, especially across Manitoba. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple months. Oh, and then over to the U.S. here. This is interesting. U.S. scientists are planning on getting lithium, magnesium, manganese, and cobalt from seawater. This isn't the first time they've done stuff like this. They were doing this during World War II. The U.S. produced much of its magnesium this way until moving to an imported supply during the 1990s. So this isn't old technology, and hey, why not? And then with this type of technology too, you're going to be purifying the water in some degree. So start pulling some of these minerals out of the water, and then you have a better product to work with too, to have more purified water. So really, it's like kind of one thing leading into another. So this could be a super good thing when it comes to getting like precious minerals like lithium, magnesium, manganese, and cobalt strictly from seawater, and then could lead into another product where now you have like purified water that is consumable. So it's just another way of getting good water, and this is just one step. Like think of all the other things that could happen after this fact, which is going to be quite interesting. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this, but it's not old technology. They've been doing this. They were doing this during World War II. So, and over to Europe. Sorry, I was trying to find some more Europe news, but this really stood out to me. So France has shut down three of its nuclear reactors right now, and then seven of them are going to be reduced, have reduced power. And the reason that they're doing this right now, and if you don't know what's happening in Europe right now, they're having a record heat wave. And so far, right now, to date, they've had around 5,000 people die because of heat related illnesses or heat related issues. And literally, I had to look this up. 5,000 people. In the same time frame, COVID in France killed around 21,000 people in the same exact time frame. I had to look this up. I was like, okay, 5,000 people just from heat. Like, how stupid could these people be? So then I did some fact checking. So, how many people in roughly the same timeline would have passed from COVID? Yeah, 21,000 people. Estimated 21,000 people. So yeah, and with them shutting down these reactors, there's a reason for this, is because everyone's using more power than what they can really handle right now. And so they need more cooling water for these reactors. So now that they're running all this cooling water through there, they have all this hot water to extinguish. And with the environmental rules and regulations they have in France, they can't take warm or hot water and put it in a warm body of water, whether it's a lake, a river, it can't match the temperatures or can't be hotter than what you're putting in it, because the lakes and rivers in France right now are already getting to peak temperatures, which could be an environmental problem. Like you have algae here in like Manitoba and stuff. When it comes to heat like this, we have stuff called like blue green algae, different types of algae were highly toxic, even to wildlife. Farmers will keep their cattle away from their sloughs and stuff when you have blue green algae. And this is not going to be good for the people of France, because if they're going to be slowing these reactors down uh, just enough so they can keep it cool and then get that water back out enough to where it's not going to infect the environment, this is not going to be good for the people of France. Yeah, so expect more than just 5,000 people having issues with heat-related deaths. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. But that France is not in a good place right now, and still waiting to see what's going to happen with some of these battery backups and stuff that Europe is looking into. They're really dragging their feet when it comes to storage. It's like, yeah, we need more wind farms, we need more solar power, and really, if you don't have the means to store this energy, then like really building all this stuff is useless. So yeah, that's it for the news today, you guys. I'm here Monday to Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time. News stripped down, 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer is just BS. Uh, yeah. So yeah, let's end off on some things that happened today in history. Actually, this is kind of interesting. Today is actually Bastille Day. The French in 1789, the French Revolution begins with the storming of Bastille Prison in Paris, and which is now Bastille Day. In Quebec, Quebec Province, Quebec City, they really don't celebrate Canada Day. They celebrate Bastille Day. And Bastille, when I was there, it lasted about a week. And Bastille, yeah, Bastille Day lasts about a week. Okay, yeah, I know Bastille Day, blah blah blah, but it lasts about a week. And then walking through Quebec City, you could walk with beer, open spirits, blah blah. As long as you're not walking around with a 2.6, a big bottle of liquor, you're pretty much okay. The cops won't bother you or anything. And this is pretty much the only week you can walk around absolutely like a drunk retard, and the cops won't bother you. Like they'll literally just throw you in the back of the van, probably take you home. It's pretty funny. And then today in 1798, U.S. Seditions Act was enacted. Any false or scandalous and malicious writing about the government would be punished. Yeah. Hmm. Wow. That be a lot of people in trouble right now. I'd be in trouble right now. That's in the States. I'm surprised they haven't really followed through on any of these rules. I'm surprised Trump hasn't used this rule yet. But it's probably out of date. This was it's 1776. Yeah, that would have been part of it. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah, the US Seditions Act. Look that up. That's insane. And then today in 1850, the first public demonstration of ice being made using refrigeration. Get this. In Florida. In Florida, 1850, the first public demonstration of ice being made using refrigeration was in Florida. And the guy who did it, his name was John Gorey. John Gorey. And today in 1992, the 386 BSD is released, starting open source operating systems, the first of its kind. And then shortly after, there was like the Tinex system that was released. And yeah, this is the beginning of open source operating systems. I don't think you guys like I grew up during like the 80s and 90s and stuff. Like we're still just figuring this stuff out. And then when we first heard stuff like open source operating systems, like yeah, okay, whatever. Like but now like this is pretty much all we use. Like this was the start of time right here when it came to open source systems. 1992 today. Crazy. July 14th. And today, in July 14th, 1969, the movie Easy Rider was released. So yeah, that's it for the news today, you guys. Like I said, 30 minutes or less. Why? Because anything longer is just BS anyways. I'm here Monday to Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Central Time. And yeah, if there's anything you guys want me to talk about, yeah, leave a message or something in the chats, and yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for tomorrow's show. Wednesday, hump day. Woo, hump day for really anybody who it really matters to. Uh, I just sit here and write all day, so write all day or play video games. But anyways, I'm out of here, and if I don't see you guys for the rest of this week, take her easy. Try and stay out of the heat. I just got air conditioning hooked up, which is nice. And yeah, peace out, you guys, and have a great week.